Okay, so imagine for a minute stepping into your own living room, familiar, comforting, unchanged. You move as you always have until one day you find yourself nudged in a slightly different direction. A small resistance here, a quiet redirection there, nothing obvious. But over time, invisible boundaries accumulate, and what once felt open now gently guides you down certain paths and moves you away from others. So slowly, silently, an invisible maze has been built around you, shaping your movement without you ever really being asked about it. Now, today our lives kind of unfold inside this maze, which is shaped quietly by digital technologies. And this maze has a name, it's surveillance capitalism. It's a new economic order where a small number of companies profit enormously by predicting and subtly controlling our behavior, turning human experience into data to be monetized. Now, we often talk proudly about innovation, of course, especially at events like this. But as we focus more and more on innovation for its own sake, so speeding up systems without first examining what we're actually accelerating, we risk scaling not just progress, but also control, surveillance, inequality. So we have to ask ourselves, who does today's innovation really serve? Because rather than meeting human needs, too much of today's digital innovation is built to harvest data, capture attention, and monetize behavior. It's not designed to make our lives better, it's designed to make us more predictable and more profitable to someone else. The systems shaping our world, they aren't just engineered, they're not the result of technical design or innovation alone, they're actually incentivized to extract. They're incentivized to make as much money as quickly as possible. And that's a problem. Like when Facebook's algorithm identifies teenage girls who delete selfies or in some other way express their insecurity, and then targets them with beauty ads. And this isn't a bug in the system, this is the system. And when vulnerability becomes a metric for profit, harm isn't a side effect, harm is the business model. Did you know that platforms test content on us without our knowledge, sometimes even tweaking emotional tones to see, which posts get the most engagement? Or that platforms like TikTok and YouTube have been fined for collecting data on children and then using that data to make predictive models so that they can sell them stuff through ads. So our children's rights, our children's developmental health, are just compromised as part of a company's growth strategy. Now, most of us know that apps are designed with push notifications, with endless scroll and algorithmic stimuli to maximize screen time. We know. I mean, when was the last time you opened social media just for a quick look, and then 30 minutes later, you're still scrolling? This morning? Yesterday? Not now, I hope. But it's not an accident that happens. It's not a lapse in discipline. That's the system working exactly as intended. Every click, every like, a scroll generates data, and that data reveals who you are. It reveals what triggers you, what keeps you engaged. And that data is collected, it's analyzed, and is used to influence what you see next, what you do, what you think about. And it's not for our benefit. It's to maximize time, emotion, and ultimately, it's to maximize revenue. And this constant pull, it fragments our attention, it erodes our focus, so it increases anxiety. It hollows out our ability to think, reflect, and connect deeply with ourselves, with our environment, and with each other. And this doesn't stop at social media. AI is kind of becoming like a co-author of our lives. I mean, it's finishing our sentences. It's suggesting our words. It's recommending what we read, what we buy, what we listen to, what we watch. And these small decisions, they're made quietly on our behalf, but they add up. Because eventually, we stop choosing, and we just start accepting what's chosen for us. And attention, it isn't the only thing that's being shaped. So is reality. Algorithms don't just feed us content, they feed us our version of truth. News, opinions, Even facts are filtered and personalized until our realities, they diverge, neighbor from neighbor, family from family, friend from friend. And when we no longer share a common picture of the world, it becomes almost impossible for us to act. This isn't a side effect either, it's built in. It's innovation designed to turn us from participants into isolated, more easily influenced consumers to make more money. Again, that's the business model. Now, at its core, this isn't just a technical problem. This is a political problem. It's about power. The values embedded in our technologies today, they are not neutral. They prioritize economic growth over well-being. They prioritize competition over connection and efficiency over ethics. And those designing and owning the systems, they know us intimately, and we know nothing about them. Who designs the algorithms? Their biases, their intentions. And this imbalance, it reinforces this imbalance of power. It turns tools that could empower into tools that instead steer, filter, and restrict without our consent and without recourse. And we're not just using tech, we're actually kind of living inside of it. And we don't get to set the rules. And neither do our governments. And if that doesn't worry you, it should. It scares me, because this is how control shifts quietly, incrementally, without us noticing. There's no need for force when systems predict what we'll do, guide how we behave, and subtly limit what we see. We give away autonomy not because it's taken by force, but because it's bundled into convenience. A brave new world, anyone? And as that control deepens, democracy itself, it becomes hollow. Rights exist on paper, but decisions are shaped elsewhere. They're shaped in code, in data models, behind closed systems and closed doors, while we're busy scrolling and watching Netflix. Okay, now that was the dystopia. Now let's talk a little bit about how we make sure those forces don't win. Because the world is ours. And I don't actually believe that corporate capture of innovation and the technical landscape is inevitable. That's what we're seeing happening right now, but it doesn't have to be. This erosion of freedom and democracy, this is not a law of nature. But it is the default, if no one resists. So that's why we have to act, we have to resist. We have to redefine what innovation is for and who it serves. Innovation doesn't have to mean extraction. It could mean regeneration. It can mean systems designed to deepen empathy, build resilience, and support human flourishing, rather than addiction, outrage, and burnout. It means designing technologies that strengthen our capacity to connect, to focus, to care for each other and the world that we share. It means democratizing the infrastructure of the technical landscape. It's a tall order, but we can do it. I think we absolutely can do it. It's not science fiction. It's not some hippie utopia. It's already happening, actually, in isolated places, in small communities, and specific projects all over the world. And it's exciting. Cities right now are rethinking economic models to prioritize well-being over growth, which is amazing. Communities are testing universal basic income to give people real freedom. Technologists, artists, and open source wizards are co-creating digital spaces that are built for dialogue, not division. And open source AI models are already challenging corporate control. So the next steps here are to figure out how to connect, scale, and protect these efforts from being absorbed into the very systems they're meant to challenge. So we need systems-level change. And we need governments who understand what we're dealing with and are brave enough and care enough to fight back. We need digital rights legislation that puts people in control of their data, protects against manipulation, and treats privacy and consent as core democratic principles. These are the civil liberties of our times. We need enforceable standards for algorithmic accountability, systems that can be audited, explained, and held responsible for the consequences they create. And we need to ban surveillance-based advertising outright. And I'm not much for banning things, but a business model that profits from manipulating behavior has absolutely no place in a healthy democratic society. It doesn't make any sense. Together, these changes would begin to shift power back, away from black box platforms and tech billionaires and toward the public. But look, structural change alone isn't quite going to do it. To build a future worth living in, we also need to reclaim the narrative. Because the systems we build are shaped by the stories we tell about what matters, what's possible, about who we are. And the future, as we know, it belongs to those who shape the stories we tell about ourselves. And right now, those stories are dominated by a handful of corporations and powerful individuals. But our collective imagination is way more powerful than their narrative. But we need to make our voices heard. Artists, educators, children, philosophers, futurists, we need all of us to become storytellers, empowered to envision futures where technology aligns with human dignity, creativity, and solidarity. Because when we change the story, we actually change what's possible. And democracy, it doesn't vanish all at once. It erodes when people no longer believe they have the power to shape what comes next. And so we must reclaim our ability to shape the future, not have it decided for us by systems we can't see or challenge. That means reclaiming control over our attention, our data, our governance, and our sense of what kind of world is worth building. Humans have always innovated best when driven by purpose, not pressure, by curiosity, not coercion. But today's systems are built on incentives that keep us in scarcity, even when abundance is clearly possible. If we can move beyond that, the conditions and the tools for creativity and freedom could belong to everyone and not just a privileged few. So the invisible maze, it isn't inevitable. It was built, and we can absolutely dismantle it, but we have to demand it. I mean, we have to decide that innovation is not something that's done to us, but something we do together. Because when we reclaim innovation for human flourishing, we begin reclaiming the future as something we all belong to. Thank you.